guys, look, just a warning, in this video I am going to break this knife, but I don't mean it in a critical way. I'm purely demonstrating what to expect when you buy the most basic of Moras, which is still, for the price and for what it is, a fabulous little knife. So, but for all intents and purposes, the breakage that you see is not under standard use. So let's compare it to a couple of knives first. This is the Mora Companion. This is like the standard Mora that I think everyone's pretty well versed in. It's a fair bit thicker. It's kind of like the next level of size and a couple more levels of robustness to this standard basic 511. You see the blade just a little bit more thick and robust and long. So yeah, even higher up in the Mora hierarchy is the Bushcraft Black. This is an even more sort of stout knife. Still just the stick tang, but the stick tang goes a fair way deep into the handle. And these are really, really hard use knives. I've abused and used this one that's in the frame for years now, and it's never failed, never come loose, never done anything wrong at all really, and I've reground it and fiddled with it and everything. This is it next to a Falconeven F1, which is again another notch higher in terms of use and durability and also purpose really. This is just getting more towards just for familiarity and size comparison and whatnot. Because this is a pretty standard companion size knife, it's a lot thinner and a lot more kind of delicately built, limiting the tasks that you'd be wanting to do with it a little more. This is next to a Falconeven A1, which is a rather large, or at least mid to large size survival knife, and this was just put into perspective how much of a little delicate, sort of more precision tool this Mora basic 511 is, especially when you see it next to that big thick sort of convex / sabery type A1 blade. So the Mora 511 can be bought for about $10 US from Mora's store, so I can only imagine it's probably about $6 at retail. Even here in Australia, I got this knife for $11 from eBay, so it is a really, really good buy. You get a really decent plastic sheath with it, which is very much a Mora sheath. It's got a couple of features. It's got a clip-on retention system to your belt, so it's got, you don't need to take your belt off to put it on. It's got a friction fit, it's got a drainage hole at the bottom, and it's got a button sort of system on the top and on the back, so you can chain a few of these different Mora sheaths together and have a whole system of knives on your hip. This is a knife on my hip. It's no problems at all. It sits there very well. It's because it's a small knife, it doesn't ride up too high, and I have absolutely no problems. It's great that it even comes with a sheath for a knife this cheap. This really is an example of probably the most high value place you can get a good piece of 1095 steel that is ground really well to a really, really fine factory edge. They're almost disposable, but you can still very much take care of a Scandinavian ground knife really, really easily. The way it comes from the factory is a fantastic factory edge that will shave and cut wood and do all sorts of stuff with great level of detail and keenness, because it is it is a zero ground Scandi edge knife. Mora says this is more for a working knife, like a builder's knife or a carpenter's knife or something like that. I think Mora is kind of synonymous with bushcraft, and at least in my head, I've always kind of had that view until I got this knife that, a Mora is that knife that you can take out and thump on, even though it is sort of just a stick tang knife. So I just show you some demonstration here. You can put it through the ringer a little tiny bit. You can cut laterally across wood and all that sort of business, and you can abuse the knife just a little bit, but later on I will push it to the point where the knife does actually fail. Again, as I said, not to the knife's discredit, just so you know. And there you go. So that's the you saw the knife come loose in the handle just then. It does pop back, and it does sort of friction hold there again, but as you'll see in a second, when you try and put the knife through, rougher work apart from just using the strength of your arm. When you start striking the back of it pretty much with anything, it's going to be when you come into problems. So yeah, a 1095 steel Scandinavian ground edge and a thermoplastic handle. The handle does feel just pretty much like a plastic, so nothing fancy, no rubberized texturing, no grip, nothing like that, but it is a nice big handle. So it's got that whole Spyderco thing, the paramilitary 2 thing, for example, a big handle, little blade. So in the knife review world, we often sort of have this blade-handle ratio thing, and it's like we almost want it to be 1-to-1. I think with a working knife, it's absolutely fine to have a really quite big handle with just a little bit of blade poking out. You'll have maximum control over that little blade. Especially when you look at, say, dedicated carving knives, you'll see the blade is often only about a third of the size of the handle, just for that maximum control. Mora's done a really good job here of sort of putting that school of thought in with this very much general use knife. So just do some more cutting demonstrations, just show you how that edge just peels the wood off really, really nicely. It's looking really good on this new camera of mine, I must say, as well. But yeah, there's absolutely no problem with how keen it will do your wood carving. This is a great knife to have at camp and just use to sit around carving walking sticks. So it's a small knife, and there is nothing in the literature that would tell you that you should be battening with the knife, but people are going to do it because it's a Mora. I sort of even had that thought of, it's more a companion combatant, so not that that's ideal either, but so maybe this one can too. But I'd already seen how far the tang went into the knife, which I'll show you in a minute when it breaks, and you'll see it definitely isn't for this job. Do not do this with your Mora Basic and expect it to survive, because it just won't, and it's completely fair. It's like just the same way you wouldn't use it to punch through a piece of sheet metal or something like that. Don't use it for battening. So there you go. The blade obviously came used from its very slightly built plastic handle. No problems at all. If you want to do something like that, use a bigger knife. I mean, splitting little bits of firewood, I think, is a fine knife job. Obviously, splitting massive logs, probably not a knife job at all, but whatever. That debate aside, this is not the knife to do that with. So that's probably the main lesson in this video. This is what to expect from a Mora 511. It's got a really small tang. It doesn't go all the way into that knife. It goes about an eighth of the way into that knife handle. It's very, very little. It's curved around, obviously glues onto a pin or a plastic recess inside that handle, but it's not going to stand up to hard use and abuse, which, quite frankly, battening with this knife is abuse. But for a great carving knife for under $10, it's absolutely fantastic. It really is. It's a great first knife for kids. It's a great shop knife to have around your wood shop when you're doing like precision sawing and things like that, just to scrape out the little bits of leftover wood and whatnot. Really good, excellent all-round utility knife. Just don't grab it and expect it to be doing what even a companion does, because it's just not that knife. It's a different knife. It's a very, as the name would say, basic blade. Thanks for watching, dudes. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!